What if the ice knew your name? Somewhere between Greenland and Nunavut, on windless nights, the sea under the ice starts to hum, a low, patient note that climbs into your ribs like a secret. Inuit folklore gives that hum a face, Qalupalik, a forgotten beast pressing up from the dark water, hair drifting, pouch ready for the unwary. That's the story. The anomaly is how the sound seems personal, calibrated, as if curiosity itself were being called to the floe edge. People swear they've heard their names. Bones vibrate, instincts glitch, and you lean. But lean where and toward what? Tonight we test the boundary between curiosity and consequence. We'll follow the under-ice humming into physics and into memory, parse bearded seal arias from pressure-ridged drumbeats, and ask why a warning from Inuit tradition still feels sharper than any sign. Because the lure economy didn't start with phones. It started wherever a song made you step closer to danger. In Arctic water, it's Qalupalik. In your pocket, it's autoplay. Learn the counter-ritual, and you might keep your footing on both. Miss it, and the pouch isn't under the ice, it's around your attention. The hum is rising, and that was just the beginning. I was told that on windless nights in Greenland and Nunavut, the sea itself hums, a low note that turns your ribs into tuning forks. Inuit elders call it a warning, a boundary line, a voice you don't answer. They speak of Qalupalik, a forgotten beast in Inuit folklore, swimming under the sea ice with hair drifting like kelp, seal-slick skin, and a pouch for the unwary. Out on the floe edge, the world is a drum. Pressure ridges pop, ringed seals bark, and ice sings. But this humming feels intentional, closer, as if something ancient is testing courage and distance. Ask around Arctic folklore circles, and you'll hear the same sketch. The Qalupalik prowls the dark water, pressing up against sea ice, while its humming lures the curious. Parents warn kids not to wander to the shoreline, not to lean over tide cracks, not to chase a seal's whisker shadow. In some retellings, it carries an amauti-like pouch, ready to tuck away the careless. Is it a sea spirit, a monster, or a safety story sharpened by centuries? All three can be true in Inuit tradition. And yes, curiosity is brave. But on black ice, brave can also be short. I like to test legends against the world, not to break them, but to see how they hold. Under ice acoustics are wild. Bearded seals trill like sci-fi synthesizers. Bowhead whales moan, and shifting floes crackle like a vinyl record the size of a bay. Pressure squeezes plates. Water booms in trapped pockets. Everything turns the ice into an amplifier. So yes, a humming beneath the ice can be perfectly natural and still feel personal. Field rule: if a note grows stronger near a lead, step back. I ran a simple comparison of recordings and lore, expecting neat overlap, but one result shocked me. If you trace the Qalupalik through Inuit legend, The first thing that sticks is the lure, not teeth, not claws, sound. A thrumming under the sea ice that seems to know your name and the shortest path from curiosity to trouble. Elders describe the floe edge as a stage, and the audience is whoever leans too far over the dark lead. The hum travels through bone better than wind, so you feel it before you believe it. Parents in Greenland and Nunavut turned that physics into wisdom. Never chase a shimmer at the crack. Never answer a song below the ice. Descriptions vary across Arctic folklore, but the silhouette keeps repeating. Long hair streaming like weed, slate green skin slick as a seal, fingers ending in curved, patient nails. Sometimes she's wearing an amauti-like pouch, a grim mirror of care. Sometimes he's a shadow pressing upward from the black. Either way, the Qalupalik cruises tide cracks slowly, matching your breath, matching your footsteps. Children hear the humming as a promise. Adults hear it as a debt. In lore, the closer you lean, the more the voice sounds like someone you trust. Names are whispered, lullabies reshaped, and rules you swore to follow feel flexible at the floe edge. What makes the Qalupalik persuasive isn't violence, it's calibration. The under-ice humming arrives just loud enough to be intriguing, not enough to scream danger. It's what your phone's notification chime is to your focus, what a rip current is to a confident swimmer, what thin ice is to the brave kid at recess. Small steps, small stakes, then the cold hand. Inuit parents wrapped this psychology in story. Stories travel farther than posted signs. I charted lure patterns against under-ice acoustics, expecting overlap, but one anomaly bent the line. Some accounts mentioned humming on shallow inlets where seals were absent and pressure ridges were silent. If the humming were only seals and shifting sea ice, why did elders say it sometimes knew your name? Hold that thought, because the next test didn't happen in water, it happened in memory. I remember the first time the under-ice humming felt personal, like someone tugging a thread through my ribs. The floe edge was quiet, a black lead flanked by salt white plates, and even my breath felt too loud. Then that low note rolled in, steady, patient, familiar in a way I couldn't place. In Inuit folklore, the Qalupalik matches your rhythm until you do the rest. You lean, you answer, you slip. I stepped back not because of fear, but because the sound had shape, like a half-remembered lullaby. That's when I realized the lure isn't just physics, it's recognition, waiting for a name.
Here's the science in plain English. Sound in water travels fast, and sea ice acts like a giant speaker cone. Low frequencies couple into your bones, a kind of built-in subwoofer you never asked for. Bearded seals can trill from a few hundred hertz up into kilohertz. Bowhead whales carry mournful phrases across miles. Pressure on brine-laced ice plates creates eerie singing and infrasound. Add tidal flex, trapped air, and thin ice vibrating like a drumhead, and you've got a whole Arctic orchestra. That explains the under-ice humming, sure, but it doesn't explain why some people hear their own names. Meaning lives where story meets signal. Inuit parents framed the Qalupalik as a boundary spirit, a forgotten beast policing the line between curiosity and consequence. That's not superstition, that's survival design. Your brain is a pattern machine, and under stress, it will bend ambiguous noise toward familiarity. Faces in frost, names in the wind, comfort in danger. The Qalupalik turns that bias into a warning label. If the song sounds like you, step back. I mapped these name moments to windless nights and thin ice leads, expecting neat overlays. Most did align, but one little cluster, far from whales and pressure ridges, shocked me. The elder who finally made it click for me didn't raise his voice. He just traced a circle on the sea ice with a mitten and said, "Sound learns you." In Inuit folklore, the Qalupalik isn't only a swimmer, it's a borrower of names, lullabies, rhythms, pressing close beneath sea ice until your own history becomes bait. Out on a calm lead near Nunavut, he told me how a child heard her grandmother's song from the dark water and stepped forward smiling. The men pulled her back by the parka hood. The humming stopped. Then it returned quieter, as if listening for what else it could steal. Here's the unromantic version you can test. The Arctic is a giant acoustics lab. Low-frequency whale calls, bearded seal trills, brine-skimmed plates of sea ice flexing like drumheads. Bone conduction plus wind shadows make names where there are none. Auditory pareidolia, phonemic restoration, and the precedence effect tell your brain to fill gaps with the nearest familiar pattern. Add echo paths off pressure ridges and tide cracks, and you get syllables that feel customized. That explains most borrowed voice reports, but not all. A few Greenland inlets with no whale traffic, quiet ice, and repeat name events refused to fit the neat box. Meaning is the backbone, not the garnish. In Arctic folklore, Qalupalik stories function like seatbelts made of sound, keeping kids off thin ice without waiting for a close call. The pouch, the humming, the hair under the floe edge, they're a boundary system that traveled farther than warning signs ever could. You know the modern analogs, notification chimes that feel personal, ads that use your name, feeds that hum just enough to pull you past the safe edge. The forgotten beast isn't only a monster, it's a mirror for the lure economy. I thought that's where the lesson ended, until an elder showed me how to answer the hum without speaking back. If a voice under the ice learns you, what happens when you refuse to be predictable. Next, the pouch stories and a counter-ritual I didn't expect. The amuati-like pouch in Inuit folklore is the detail that won't let go. Care turned inside out, a place meant for warmth and safety, reimagined as a trap for the unwary, especially children at the floe edge. Elders tell it straight. The Qalupalik doesn't chase, it collects. That image works like a boundary painted on black ice. In the real Arctic safety code, tethers matter. Buddy lines, parka hoods grabbed fast, a kick sled anchored to a waist rope. The discipline to give the sea ice your full attention. In the modern life, the translation is blunt. Predatory lures hum too. Scroll feeds for you pages. Targeted whispers. The counter-ritual I was taught wasn't magic. It was posture and pattern. When the hum arrives under sea ice, don't answer with your voice. Answer with your stance. Plant your weight, eyes on the horizon line. Breathe slow, so nothing beneath can mirror you. Take 2 steps back from the lead. Test the edge with your ice chisel. Let vibration, not curiosity, do the talking. If you need a cue, use rhythm the Qalupalik can't borrow. A mitten tap on your sleeve. A heel-toe scuff in the snow. Anything that breaks entrainment. You're not fighting a monster. You're refusing the algorithm. We tried it at a quiet Greenland inlet. No seals, wind dead, pressure ridges silent. The under-ice humming arrived like a dial tone, steady and low. We matched the protocol. Plant, back 2 steps, chisel tap, no words. The note faded and then reappeared 30 yards down the lead, as if the forgotten beast had changed seats. On the hydrophones, the spectrum looked wrong for whales and wrong for plate flecks. A shallow cavity under thin ice, maybe. A geometry that bent sound like a ventriloquist. We logged it as likely echopath, closed the notebook, and then heard one soft syllable none of us could explain.
The last test wasn't glamorous. No aurora, no hero shots, just a quiet inlet, a safety rope, and an elder who'd seen more winters than I've seen summers. We set hydrophones under the sea ice and stood a full body length back from the floe edge. The under-ice humming came on like a dial tone, faint, then firm, while snow hissed in tiny needles. He nodded toward the black lead and said, "Names don't live in the water, they live in you." In Inuit folklore, the Qalupalik keeps boundaries honest, so we practice that honesty. 2 steps back, eyes up, breath slow, curiosity leashed, barely. On paper, the acoustic data looked tidy. Frequency bands consistent with shallow cavities under thin ice, the sort you'd expect when brine channels line up just right. Think Helmholtz resonance meets pressure ridges, bottles and drumheads scaled to Arctic geometry. No bowhead whale signatures, no bearded seal arias, no obvious cryosisms. The spectrum said mundane, but our bones said present. That mismatch is the Qalupalik's favorite hiding spot, between your instruments and your instincts. In Greenland and Nunavut, Arctic folklore didn't fight that gap, it bridged it. Stories handled the uncertainty so children would survive the season and parents could sleep. Meaning, then, the forgotten beast is a boundary lesson with teeth you can't see. Under ice humming teaches restraint, the way modern lures, notifications, autoplay, infinite scroll teach surrender. Both hum just enough to keep you leaning. Your counter ritual is the same across centuries. Posture, pattern, distance, a friend's hand on your parka hood. In Inuit tradition, the Amouti-like pouch warns what happens when care turns into capture. Online, your pouch is labeled for you. The question is ancient and current. What hum knows your name, and how far will you lean? We packed the gear, data neat, hearts unsettled, and one faint syllable still circling under the ice. Out on the floe edge, physics and folklore shake hands. The under-ice humming is real. Bearded seal trills, bowhead phrases, sea ice acoustics, and so is the lesson that Inuit folklore carried farther than any warning sign. The Qalupalik, the forgotten beast, gives danger a face so kids remember the rule when it matters. Don't lean toward the dark lead just because it calls your name. Between Greenland and Nunavut, that wisdom saved lives. Between your ears, it still can. Curiosity is a gift, but it needs a tether. Call it the pouch turned right side out. Care that keeps, boundary that holds, rhythm you choose. So here's your counter ritual, fit for sea ice and screen time. When the hum arrives, under the ice, in your feed, don't answer with your voice. Answer with posture. Plant your weight, breathe slower, step back 2 paces from the edge. Test before you trust. Chisel tap on ice, friction pause on autoplay. Bedtime for the infinite scroll. Notifications off except for people you'd rescue in a storm. Keep a buddy line, a friend who tugs your parka hood when you lean. Write the rule where you'll see it. If the song sounds like me, I step back first, then decide. Tell me where the humming finds you. Is it a shoreline at night, a glowing screen at dawn, a deal that sounds too much like your dream? What's your Qalupalik today? Status, outrage, FOMO? The tidy story that pulls you past the safe edge? Which pouch do you carry for others? Boundaries that warm instead of trap? Drop a note below. Where are your flow edges, and what counter ritual will you practice this week? Be specific. The more concrete the rhythm, the less borrowable your name becomes. If you've ever heard the waters say you, don't be shy. We're listening for patterns worth keeping. If this journey through Arctic folklore and under-ice acoustics sparked something, subscribe and ring the bell so you don't miss what's next. Like and share if someone you love tends to lean at the edge. And if you want another cold, beautiful terror, slide into our next hunt. Nature's nightmare, Mosasaurus, 82 to 66 MA, apex predator of the western interior Seaway. A real marine reptile that ruled an inland ocean and bit like a guillotine. Different water, same rule. Respect the edge and learn the hum before it learns you.